Hello from Astana, Kazakhstan, and welcome to the CGTN and Silkway TV joint presentation, China and Central Asia, Together for a Shared Future. I'm Tian Wei, and this is my great colleague, Ainur, coming from the Silkway TV. It's always good to see you.
Hello, nice to see you in Astana for the second time, and greetings to our audiences of Silkway TV channel and CGTN. It's truly exciting to witness our city becoming a hub for international dialogue.
As we know, the 2025 China-Central Asia Summit is taking place in Astana this week. Amid global uncertainty and shifting dynamics, this summit carries much significance. Leaders from China, Central Asia will join forces to strengthen regional stability, share prosperity, and a more inclusive world order.
Yes, this is true. This summit is pivotal to promote cooperation in the region. For Kazakhstan and our neighbors in Central Asia, this moment represents a deepening of regional bonds and a reaffirmation of our joint aspirations with China. It also reflects Central Asia's growing role as a strategic bridge, not only between East and West, but between tradition and innovation.
Indeed. Since the first summit, China and Central Asia have achieved remarkable progress, deepening mutual trust, boosting trade and infrastructure development with vibrant cultural exchanges, especially between China and Kazakhstan.
Absolutely. Today, we gather in Astana to celebrate the growing China-Central Asia partnership. This partnership is not just vital for our region, but sets a powerful example of mutually beneficial collaboration in today's world. Looking forward to insightful discussions ahead.
Indeed, and we are very glad and honored to welcome our experts on the panel to discuss how China and Central Asia can shape a shared future. They are Azamat Baigaliev, expert in international communication. He himself is a political scientist and a media manager. Meanwhile, Dong Zhiyang, assistant professor with the Graduate School of Business of Nazarbayev University. What a pleasure to see both of you here.
Also, we have Ramazan Jampisov, advisor to the General Director of the Kazakhstan Eco-Share Association, and Ma Bin, Deputy Research Fellow at the Center for Russian and Central Asian Studies from Fudan University, who is joining us online. Welcome, gentlemen.
We have a lot of questions to ask our panel of experts, but let's jump on this very first one. We know in our world today, so many uncertainties, whether it's geopolitics, climate change, technological development, and the list goes on. So where is the role of China and Central Asia? I would love to hear from all of you. If you could be brief, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I get that the main thing related with the Kazakhstan and China relationship is the mutual respect. It's a great potential for our economy. And that's why we need right now, in this ambiguous world right now, we need to more clear communication. As a communication manager, I think that this is the future of our relationships, like the really clear communication between our countries, which really help us to develop in this world. Because right now it's really unpredictable how we will develop in our world. So, and also Kazakhstan, of course, first of all, Kazakhstan is the main regional partner with China in our region, and it like approximately, I think that mutual bilateral trade, it's like around $44 billion right now, and maybe for China it's not the biggest one, but for our country it's the first trade partner in our region, and also like among all the countries. That's why we right now need really strong partnership and really strong agreement with China to develop this partnership. It's not about even just about money. It's also about trust. It's also about like symbolic cultural decisions. It's also about investments, and not only investments in infrastructure and energy, and also investment in tourism, investments in the culture relationships between our nation, and also in the social development.
I've just heard that our speakers mentioned trade and economic cooperation, and we'll address it later during our panel session. It's very important topics. I should mention also that Chinese President Xi Jinping will visit the second China Central Asia Summit in Astana, and also it is expected that he will have separate meetings with the leaders of Central Asia, and including President of Kazakhstan, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, who will host him at the Akorda Presidential Palace. So the topic, the anthem of deepening cooperation, deepening China-Kazakhstan partnership is very important. It's on agenda. So I'm here interested in what key drivers such as political trust, mechanism building, or infrastructure connectivity do you believe underpin this intensified diplomatic engagement and this intensified political dialogue? So my question here is for all of our panelists.
Yeah.
So maybe Mr. Jean-Pierre can go first.
Thanks a lot. That's a great question, and I think that we just don't have any other, options to go together and to develop and intensify our cooperation. And China plays one of the most important role for the sustainable development of the whole region, Central Asia, because my valuable colleagues just mentioned that we have China as a main or biggest trade partner of Kazakhstan, but it also a very strong political player, and it's a leader in the global technology world. And for Kazakhstan and for the whole Central Asia region, it's a great, opportunity to get the access to the technology and improving the resilient and sustainable future, because our region is very rich by raw materials, but China can provide sustainable and new technology, green technology, digitalization, to support the access to finance with the availability of different Chinese funds and private capital with low interest. It's a crucial support for development of new technologies in our region, not only in Kazakhstan, because only political will is not enough.
Yes.
We need to get some support from the finance point of view and from the availability to technology. And another very important thing that we have to mention is the capacity building. Of course, China can provide. Right now, we already can see that hundreds of students go to China to get the education, and a lot of experts through different training courses get the improve of the knowledge from different Chinese organizations and private companies. And of course, China is leading in many low carbon development projects in the world. And of course, we can use this experience to develop sustainably our conventional fields of economy, including oil and gas, mining sector, again, agriculture. Sustainable and resilient practices in agriculture requires a lot of knowledge and improvement in our region. And we have to keep in mind that Central Asia is very vulnerable in terms of climate change. That's why we just don't have any other options in order to go for sustainable and resilient development.
I just have a little follow-up question here, talking about Kazakhstan and China bilateral relations. I think these relations are setting an example of a good neighborliness and a good partnership. What do you think?
I just want to underline this idea, what my colleague said about we even didn't have a choice before not to work with China. But right now, China is the most stable and predictable country, great country in the world, right? So right now, it's not only about choice, it's about comfortable relationships between our countries.
I also want to mention, yes, that Mr. Ma is joining us from Fudan University. And my question to Mr. Ma would be about the second China Central Asia Summit. The first summit was held in May 2023 in Xi'an, China's Shaanxi province. And my question here is, in your view, what will be key focuses and highlights of this summit? This is the first part of the question. And secondly, what important developments have been already implemented since 2023?
It's my pleasure to join this program. I think for the China Central Asia Summit, there are lots of achievements in the past 3 years. I think there are many factors behind this success. I think the first is the high-level strategic consensus between China and the Central Asia countries. And I think the second one is about the complementary development needs. Both for China and the Central Asia countries, we can cooperate with each other to meet the demands of both parts, no matter the economic, but also many other fields. And the third one, I think, is the flexible and multi-level mechanism. For China and the Central Asian Summit mechanism, we not only have the bilateral mechanism, but also some multilateral agreement. All of those mechanisms provide the very useful help for those cooperation. I think the last one is the shared interest of the regional stability. We know for China and Central Asia, the regional security and stability is one of the most important interests for all those countries. For many years, China and Central Asia had focused on those interests and collaborate with each other and had initiated a lot of projects to have this cooperation. I think all of those things are the most important things for the cooperation in the past few years.
Indeed, I do want to follow up on the security issue. As we know, there is the Global Security Initiative that both China, Kazakhstan, and other C4, together, China and the C5 sign on with many in the rest of the world. So at this moment, we are seeing more instabilities in the region. How important it is that you see we are getting the essence of that initiative and be able to cooperate to make sure this region will be stable, peaceful.
For the global security, I think for China, the Central Asia cooperation is not only for this regional stability and provide the basis for the economic development and prosperity, but also think China and Central Asia's cooperation on the security fields can provide a very good example for the world, especially for South-South cooperation, because in the past decades, China and Central Asia's security cooperation started from the border issues, and then to the anti-3 wars, and then to the much more fields for the security challenges. When the China and Central Asia had these cooperations, we can see the first thing is the mutual trust, especially respect the sovereignty and non-interference principles. I think this kind of experience can provide to all the other regions security cooperation, because we know the security cooperation usually are very sensitive. So the respect the sovereignty and respect the government's role is, I think, is one of the most important things. All of those things can make the corporations maybe can have this cooperation and push this cooperation ahead. And the second thing I think for the security cooperation between China and Central Asia can give to the other regions is about all the participants can provide their resources in those corporations.
Right.
All these things is necessary for those security and stability.
Right.
I think the last one is China and Central Asia's cooperation on security is not only on the narrative security issues, but also for the social and economic development, which will
Absolutely.
provide
Absolutely.
fundamental.
Yeah, absolutely, Mr. Ma. I see that not just when it comes to the so-called security, when it comes to the security, but also security in so many different fields. I'm sure, Mr. Ramazan, you know it better when it comes to environmental security, when it comes to sustainable development security. All these are crucial for our Central Asian colleagues.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to probably mention and add a little bit to the previous comments that it's always great when we have more economical development initiatives, because it provides the more opportunities to improve all the security balance and security in different senses.
Yeah.
Not only in political security, but also environmental security, economical security. And that's why I mentioned before that it's very important to improve the economical ties between China and Kazakhstan and Central Asia. The more economical initiatives we have, the better ties and connections between our countries. It provides more balanced world in our region.
Yeah.
Because it's not a secret that Russia has a huge presence here. We have a huge trade partnership with the European Union. There are many different companies from United States in our economies as well, especially in oil and gas field, for example. And of course, the more economical project we will have with China, it would be better for our region to balance, to get more players, to diversify the economy, to diversify the political connections within the region, and to improve sustainability and environmental security.
And it's also very important that Astana has become a hub for this international dialogue and for all of these visits and for all of these meetings that are
very excited
about. It's very exciting. But I want to elaborate on economic cooperation. Of course, it stands out within the framework of our China, Central Asia, and China, Kazakhstan cooperation. As we know, China is now Central Asia's largest trading partner and major investor. And since the first summit, our trade volume has grown exponentially. So my question here is, how do you assess, and this question is for all panelists, how do you assess the strategic role of economic cooperation is really shaping the economic integration within the region, within Central Asia? Yes, Mr. Dong.
Yeah. So building on what we were just discussing about, this whole economic collaboration actually taking off, I previously have highlighted on the importance of this economic complementarity between China and Central Asian economy. Another key factor that has been driving this tremendous growth is actually the very important factor of the political commitment manifested through the mechanisms we're talking about. Although mechanism as a word might sound very abstract, but let me try to elaborate how that actually is facilitating this economic collaboration. Because normally, when we think about economic analysis, we think about demand and we think about supply, right? We work on either factors, try to boost either the demand or supply. Different economies have a different philosophies approach towards it. But one thing always that we tend to overlook is market confidence, right? And this could play a tremendous role between countries who actually have demand and supply. They refuse to sell to each other. So the demand and supply there, when there is such friction, what do we do as businessmen? We hold, we wait until all the disruptions actually settle the dust, right? So this is a terrible frustration and roadblock for economic development. But luckily, actually, this is something that sometimes we may take for granted. But now in this era, when we look around, this is happening, but we have all these mechanisms. Actually, it's strengthening the bilateral relationships, make businessmen at all different type of investment industries more confident. A lot of things previously we did not imagine could actually happen.
Talking about economic cooperation, I think it's very important to address also the question of energy cooperation, especially when we talk about green energy initiatives, when we talk about green mineral cooperation. It's already aligning with the global transition towards sustainable development. And my question here is to Mr. Ramazan Jampisov. How do you think China and Central Asian countries, Kazakhstan in particular, have leveraged their strengths to advance green mining and green energy initiatives?
Well, we can observe how the cooperation between our countries, I mean, between China and Central Asia, are developing. And China plays a pivotal, the most important role in this energy transition process pathway. Because as I already mentioned, China is a global leader, not only on technology market, but also in renewables. We have many projects already implemented and are at the stage of development in Kazakhstan and in Uzbekistan as well. There are a few projects on gigawatt scale in wind energy in Kazakhstan. And there are some plans to develop raw materials for electrical vehicles, for example, for new technologies from our region. And of course, we have more potential to cooperate in the future in terms of hydrogen, for example, low carbon hydrogen, green hydrogen, blue hydrogen, to develop a green methanol from associated natural gas, for example, which we have a lot of amounts here in Kazakhstan and in Uzbekistan as well. There are new opportunities to develop a joint project on green transportation, for example, in biofuels, on sustainable aviation fuels. Because in Kazakhstan we have a lot of agricultural wastes that could be recycled to develop sustainable fuel for transportation. In China, there are good practices to develop carbon capture and storage projects, which we need to achieve our carbon neutrality target by 2060. You know that Kazakhstan is very energy intensive and carbon intensive economy. We generate electricity generally from coal. More than 70% comes from coal. It's not sustainable, but we need to not only to develop energy mix relying on renewables and other alternative energy sources, but also to develop the carbon capture and storage technologies.
Do you think are we on same page with China when we address the issues of green transition, when we address sustainable development? Are we on the same page on that?
I can say that yes, and of course we have more potential to develop. Because as I already mentioned, Chinese companies are coming to our market for renewables right now. Even right now, when you go through the highway from Astana to Karaganda, you can see the wind farms already constructed by Chinese companies.
For you.
And we need to develop a joint initiatives and regulation between our countries. Kazakhstan launched a national emission traded system more than 10 years ago. And China launched its internal cap and trade system just a few years ago. And probably in the future we can develop a joint climate regulation to support climate projects in our countries and region. With the involvement of Chinese capital, Chinese investments, and Chinese expertise and technologies. We need to, cooperate and coordinate our policies in order to support sustainable development in our region.
Good point.
And I want to follow up a little bit, and also maybe to ask the question to Mr. Ma from Fudan University. When we talk about our economic cooperation, it's also important to mention logistics potential and transportation connectivity. Again, we're talking about connecting different, let me say, parts of the world, like east to the west. And again, the role of Central Asia, the role of Kazakhstan is essential here. We're talking about building infrastructure projects. We're talking about enabling all that routes, connecting this big connectivity project. So I'm interested in what is your vision on the future of these developments in connectivity, in transportation, and in logistics.
Okay, thank you. I think for China, Central Asia, as you said, the logistic cooperation is one of the most important projects in many years. And I think it is also the most successful part of the both parts cooperation. I think in the future, this kind of cooperation will continue and will build the Central Asia as the new harbor of the Eurasia continent. And at the same time, we can say this harbor will not connect China and Central Asia, but also connect China and Europe, and also North and South, and also China and the Middle East. That means Central Asia will play as a harbor, and at the same time, it is also the cooperation between the logistic cooperation between China and Central Asia. Central Asia as the terminal of those logistics, because it will provide the fundamental logistics for the economic cooperation, for the trade, for the minerals, and also as we know, there's also some new fields of cooperation, like for the people. I mean, from China to Central Asia, and also from Central Asia to China, like Xi'an and Almaty have the tourist trend. I think this kind of cooperation have two dimensions: the terminal and the transit harbor.
Xi'an knows this better.
Yes.
He's originally coming from Xi'an. That's his hometown. Yeah.
Right.
The cooperation on transportation, on logistics, that's changing the picture.
Right. So this logistics improvement is really something impressive. It's not only between China and Kazakhstan, right? We are also seeing the long-planned railway from China to Kyrgyzstan to Uzbekistan is also taking place. And all of this infrastructure building process has really outstanding impact, positive impact on the extensive economic sphere. At the implementation stage, actually, there's a technological transfer between the Chinese and the Central Asian partners. When they build it together, there's knowledge transfer, and there is the sharing of knowledge in terms of engineering and operational know-how, and also the sharing of knowledge in terms of servicing and maintaining it. And then it provides the basic infrastructure facilitating the trade between China, Kazakhstan, and even all the way to Europe, right? So we really have this really amazing need of each other's goods. Here, as a person from Xi'an in Kazakhstan, we like a lot of sweet wheat-based food, noodles. And we're amazed by the quality of the wheat. And we are the ambassador, basically telling all our Chinese friends. And there are those Kazakhstani agricultural products, wheat, rice, honey, and edible oil already on sale in China.
When we talk about, how these things would work, the people-to-people exchanges between China and Central Asia is so important. Without that, none of these real understanding, real cooperation could happen. You are the people that are testifying to it, because we are doing people-to-people exchanges right now. Having said that, though, education is such an important sector in this. I understand both Azamat, you studied overseas before working back at home, and also Jiang, you are teaching in a foreign country. But I see you're adopting this country as your homeland anyway, almost. So can you maybe help us to understand which stage of educational exchanges are we in right now?
First of all, in each nation, we have a lot of stereotypes about other worlds. And when you started to study abroad, you get a lot of positive information about people around you. And like maybe unconsciously, you started to be an ambassador of the new culture in your country. And it's a new bridge between the cultures, between knowledge, and you started to be more developing. You can use the new knowledge in the help your economy, of your country, help to develop. And also you have a strong connection with country where you studied. And it's actually great point.
This creates a welcoming atmosphere, and it's very, very important as well when you want to travel, when you want to go to your neighbors.
Indeed.
This welcoming atmosphere means a lot.
Too.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
I guess, we are all in the higher education sector. Me as the instructor professor end, and you're the recipient end. We probably have all heard about some interesting development, such as Beijing Foreign Language University's campus in Astana, right? Northwestern Polytechnical University's campus in Almaty. And there are a lot of interesting macro trends we all observe. I'll share something I observe more on the ground level from the Graduate School of Business at Nazarbayev University. We have been receiving international students for years from all over the world, including Chinese students. Recently, we have a more kind of interesting collaboration emerging as a result of China, Central Asian collaboration, and many of the concrete mechanisms. For example, now we have exchange programs with Tsinghua University, with Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, with Southwest University of Finance and Economics. In fact, last week I was in Chengdu, having a scholarly exchange, presenting my research. Two of my school's students, they were actually having a cultural exchange program, a summer camp in Chengdu. In Chengdu, what they could do there, they could, see the giant panda, the cute panda. They could actually practice Tai Chi. That's part of the program actually organized for them. They were learning Chinese cuisine. They were sampling all sorts of Chinese cuisine. And they were actually getting the chance for sightseeing to see the giant Buddha sculpture right at the suburb of Chengdu. That was a kind of a process, and our students were showing me the new friends they were making, and they bonded so well, and I was so happy for them. And actually, next month, in July, again, two of our students from Graduate School of Business are going to visit Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. They are going to join.
But it's not just one way, it's the other way around too. It's two-way traffic.
That leads to another more exciting opportunity we previously discussed about. So our university and UGSB, together with Hong Kong UST, are going to launch a joint degree, a dual degree bachelor program, Bachelor of Business Administration in Eurasia Studies. In this program, actually, we're going to recruit students from Asia, China, from East Asia, China, and also Southeast Asian nations. And then here, students from Central Asian states. And they're going to have an experience, first 2 years in Astana, learning all the cultural, institutional, necessary, soft infrastructure for them to manage this business opportunity. Then they move on to have 2 years in Hong Kong.
By the way, this university is such a impressive one. When I came in and see your School of Journalism, and I see future generations of journalists and broadcasters sitting here in the audience, just made me so excited. And I'm sure we can have more younger generations of journalist exchanges to report about each other so that we can solve what Azamet just told us about lack of information about the other side. And this time it's directly with one another.
Yes, exactly. I mean, when we talk about enhancing people-to-people exchanges, the role of education is very high, it's very important, but also the role of media, right? Today we have this panel discussion, which will be broadcasted jointly on Silkway TV channel, it's a Kazakh media, and also CGTN in China. So it's very important. And my question here is to Mr. Azamat Baigaliyev. How do you evaluate the impact of the Central Asia and China media collaboration? And what can we do to amplify the voices from Central Asia to be heard through these partnerships?
During the decades, we didn't know about each other, like nothing. Because I don't know, probably that's because of really specific informational like fields, right? And really economic oriented relationships without our countries, but not a cultural. But last years it started to like, expand all our digital informational partnership, and I'm really glad that we started to speak, to talk with each other, because like there are a lot of things which we need to know, which we need to see eyes to eyes, that we need to understand why some people say something like this, why our cultures are closer than we thought before. I think that right now it's much more clear, and people in Kazakhstan and in China know about each other much more than it was before. And thanks to the television, thanks to the internet, and also thanks to the social media like TikTok, I saw so many places in China, like, and so many people, so many talented writers, so many talented journalists and politicians, which I like have no idea that they are exist. But right now I know about it much more, thanks to the media first.
Before we wrap up, yes, let us, our esteemed audience, to ask your questions to our panelists today. We are very happy to open the Q&A session right now. So,
you are future talented journalists for your country. I'm sure you have great questions to ask us. Feel free to raise your hands. And if you do, our colleague will pass you the microphone.
My name is Sanel. I'm second-year student of International School of Journalism, Qazaqstan University. So my question is about cooperation between our countries. What form the foundation for deepening China-Central Asia cooperation? Like, what is the basis for deepening cooperation between our countries?
Good afternoon, my name is Alima. I'm also a second-year student of Maqsud Nazarbayev University. And my question, Beijing Language and Culture University opened a new campus in Astana last year. So can we expect to see more people-to-people and educational exchange like this in the future?
Good day, everyone. My name is Narim. I'm the first-year student of the International Journalism, and on behalf of the students, thank you very much for this session. We're grateful to listen to China and the Central Asia connection. As students from the Central Asia, we understand that our region has its own culture and values. And my question is how to media profession in China take into the differences of this region accounts and the local how can local journalists contribute to building stronger understanding and cooperate in media fields of our regions, and how the young generation should take into account for contribution of the two countries.
My name is Nurkatova Adina. I'm from second course also of the International Journalism. And my question is, how can the region's voice be more heard on the global stage?
Hello, my name is Mir Sultan. I'm a third-year student of International School of Economics. As already Alima mentioned, I also study in Beijing Language and Culture University. So my question will be another universities of Chinese or with Chinese government opened in our country in Kazakhstan?
I do see the first question regarding to the potential, the foundation to deepen mutual collaboration is related to the more expanded academic opportunity. Why do I think so? We have already touched on some examples of a certain area of collaboration initially had to leverage on governmental support, right? Later on, organic growth took a life of its own. And this is also the potential of academic exchange in higher education. Right now, what is happening is most of the projects we have been heard of depends heavily on government subsidy. Government subsidy and students' parents' will to get involved in those programs actually represent only one side of the equation.
Yeah.
That is the supply side of the equation. And actually, this kind of a cross-cultural talent development process has great also spillover positive impact on the businesses operating across borders. Right now, we haven't involved the businesses. They are the demand side of this talent development as actively as possible. They are the potential to further deepen this collaboration as they also get involved, in the process of, maybe offering internship opportunities, maybe giving input on what is the latest need after obstacles for cross-border collaboration to take place. Those are the things actually will also incentivize more students interested in paid program because they see the promise of getting really employed in certain promising jobs, right? So that's how I see the potential of a deepening collaboration with academic exchange actually coupled very well. And relating to the very specific question a bit about Beijing Foreign Language University, at the moment they are offering mostly just a short-term preparation study, right? As I understand, they're actually preparing to launch also bachelor and graduate program as well.
There was a question about engagement of younger voices, younger generations, and also representation of all of our nations in this collaborative process. Here is my question to Mr. Baigaliev. What do you think should be done more to create this maybe platform of cooperation where these younger people, where these voices will be heard and collectively responded?
Yeah, why I like this question about the cooperation and about to hearing our voices in our communication partnership. I wanna actually redirect this question to our governors from China and from Kazakhstan, because I strongly believe that we have platforms for mutual partnership, but Kazakhstan voices need to expand their participation in the informational field of China, because I strongly believe right now that thanks to your television, we got the access to that on the TV channel, China TV. But also I think that we need the new opportunity to work with Chinese social media too. We need to work much more active.
If to continue to reflect on everything we discussed today, my question here is to Mr. Ma and Mr. Dong. What are your expectations for the next step cooperation between two sides in building this shared future we're talking about?
Maybe Mr. Ma?
Mr. Ma, you can go first.
For the China and Central Asia shared future, I think, as we mentioned many times, the first thing is the mutual trust. And the second one is the mutual beneficial. And the third one is multilateral cooperation. And the fourth one, I think, is the different generations can work together. And for those kinds of efforts, the shared future, I think, is not only for China and Central Asia, because for China and Central Asia, we are the neighboring countries. We have a long history to interact with each other. Just as we mentioned earlier, from the Asian Silk Road for the Central Asia and China Summit, is the kind of improvement and kind of success for the cooperation. We can learn from the history what we can do better for our future, for our young generation, for our societies. All of those things should be cooperated by all the parts. It's not only for the for someone or some country.
I have supreme confidence in this multilateral collaboration between China and Central Asia to take the next stage, because I do think this reflect a very objective analysis. Right now, there are a lot of discussion basing on the rhetoric of de-risking or decoupling. If we analyze carefully, those preach assume danger in connectivity. Because they assume danger in connectivity, they naturally advocate for isolationism and protectionism. And building on that, unfortunately, this kind of assumption is more based on emotions of a political mood other than on objective analysis. What we are here in Central Asia, between China, this multilateral relationship, this success itself demonstrate that this blossoming prosperity in Central Asia demonstrate the value, the potential of indiscriminate connectivity. Because how Kazakhstan and other Central Asia has achieved this continuing development is exactly built on connecting to the East and to the West, right? Never discriminate any connection. And this indiscriminate connection is going to further fuel and grow upon, expand upon itself because of all this foundation we highlighted about. Political will at the top level, market attractiveness, and all this potential we discussed about but have not yet been exploited. So I believe we have all the reason to be optimistic and to be confident that what we are achieving here will be admired, maybe even emulated by whoever is watching closely on this potential very successful collaboration.
So do I, very optimistic, and I think that these kind of meetings, they are very, symbolic, especially during the current unstable world. And China once again confirming that they are considering the Central Asia as a strategic partner, and Kazakhstan as well. And same does the Kazakhstan government leaders, that we don't see the other development in the future without China. China is a strategic partner of Kazakhstan, and I just would like or wish to have these kind of meetings more on a regular basis.
We're wrapping up today's conversation. We want to thank the insights from our panelists, both here in person and online, and the wonderful input from our audience, from the young people here in Kazakhstan. We're looking forward to continue this conversation.
Yes, likewise. We are thankful for our panelists and our audience to take active part in today's conversation. I'm confident that this important conversation will bring even more fruitful results in the future.
And this concludes our special joint production, China and Central Asia Together for a Shared Future, presented by CGTN and Silkway TV. I'm Tian Wei from CGTN. It's been such a pleasure hosting today's program.
And I'm Ainur Mengali from Silkway TV channel. On behalf of our teams from Kazakhstan and China, thank you so much for joining us, and bye for now.
Bye.